I'm amazed at the amount of guises that carp fishing can take on over the course of time. And the time on the bank for me is limited at the moment. I'm having to say hello to a few different doctors every now and again and visit a couple of hospitals. And there are other things going on in my life. It's not all about me. And to that end, you have to make carp fishing fit around your life and the things that you can do at that moment in time. And all I ever really wanted from it was the fact that it makes me smile. I'm here at Homegrown Fishery today up near 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀, which is only 20 minutes from my house. And it's not the kind of venue you'd expect to see me on, I don't think. Most people think I run around chasing big carp around at 500 miles an hour with my hair on fire, and nothing could be further from the truth. You're not going to see any big carp today, but you know, in a lake where a 20-pounder would be an absolute monster, anything that I catch is going to be a big fish. And as I say, carp fishing isn't necessarily about the size of the fish that you catch, it's about the size of the smile it puts on your face. It's hard to believe I'm smiling before I even get a rod in the water, and that is what carp fishing should be all about. And it doesn't matter the size of the fish that I'm fishing for when I'm trying to catch him off the top. I still get shaky hands. You can't get the hook bait on fast enough. Oh dear. I have got one. Oh my God. How amazing. Oh. Amazing. Oh dear. Oh. It's my first bite of the day, and while I was trying to sort out a little knot in my line, I got a bite when I'd been trying desperately to present it perfectly for about 5 minutes, and as soon as I wasn't looking, I got the bite. And it's surface fishing just enhances carp fishing so much more. I've got my little light Horizon X free floater rod, 2¼ pound test curve, and you just get to feel everything. And yeah, it's carp fishing in its purest sense as far as I'm concerned, and they don't have to be monsters to make me smile. And I think while I have that attitude to my carp fishing, I'll always be smiling. And yeah, they just keep on keeping on, bless their little hearts. You'd think I was playing a monster the way that it's going. Amazing. Come on. Absolutely incredible. It doesn't matter how big that little common is. It's just lit all my fires, and I couldn't be happier than that. That is amazing. Okay, we've got the little fellow on the bank, and he really is a little fellow. Yeah, my smile is probably broader than this little fish, bless its heart. But it has brought a broad smile to my face, and it's the fun that these little fish can provide. It's just amazing that you know, I smile so much, and I've quite literally caught carp well in advance of 40 pound bigger than this. But yeah, it's the fun. It's the situations that you find yourself in, and the way life dictates what you have to do. And yeah, whatever I can smile about it, you'll always find me chasing these little fellas around. Thank you. There we go. Wow. I can see plenty of little mirrors out there, but it seems the only thing that wants to take my hook bait are these little commons. There he goes. Bless his heart. Surprise people, and it might seem that the fishing is incredibly easy, but straight away, even though there's so many fish in front of us, you've got to think about how you're, you know, putting your bait in, how you're where you're casting the bubble, and how you pull it into the area where they're feeding. But it's yeah, it's quite remarkable. And it may not seem as if you have to think about this kind of fishing too much, but even when I'm simply here, seeing how much I can smile, I'm still having to work out ways to do it, and yeah. Ooh-ah. This is absolute craziness. You just wouldn't believe it unless you were holding on or trying to hold on to this rod. Fish number 7. It's been an absolutely incredible couple of hours fishing. It's been amazing. Getting it right with the hook baits, which were obviously been ignored to begin with, seems to have got the bites coming regularly. So I think once we get this fish back in the water, let's take a quick look at the rigs, the very simple rigs that we're using to catch these very cute surface carp. I cannot even begin to tell you how difficult it was, certainly for me and for Joe behind the camera there, to stop filming and playing the carp we were catching off the top. Absolutely incredible, and it just shows how much it can get into your blood and drive you on to greater things. It's amazing, and I think of all the acts of fishing, there's nothing more simple or exciting than getting fish feeding on the top and eventually getting bites. And in terms of tackle that we're using, it really is simplicity itself, and we'll get round to the other end of my line in a second. But the rods are vital in as much as we are using much less break and strain hook link materials, and you need the rod to soak up as much of those lunges as you possibly can. Of course, with these rods, we're not looking to put a float or a mixer over the horizon, but they will cast, your bubble float an awful long way. And with the floater surface mainline that we do at Fox, what it does, it keeps you in touch with that controller infinitely longer than normal sinking line, and it allows you to adjust your line while it's on the surface. And as I say, you can be that much quicker your response to a fish sucking down your mixer. Reel wise, I've got an FX9 there. You can use any reel you want really, but as the outfit is going to be in your hand for a great length of time during the day, the last thing I want to be doing is carrying around a 3.5 pound test curve rod with an FX13 on it. It balances the whole rod and reel system by having a smaller reel on there, and allows you to maneuver it around and not to make you feel like your arm's going to fall out of its socket. Down to the other end, I can think of nothing better than the bubble float. It's a wonderful piece of kit. Allows you to fill it or decrease the amount of water that's in it, dependent on the distances you're casting. And I'll tell you, most of the time mine is pretty full up, because I found it so much better to cast well beyond where the fish are taking your mixers and draw that controller and your hook bait very, very carefully back into position, rather than plonking it straight on their heads in the first place. It also, because of the shape of it, offers great resistance to a taking fish. And very often you don't even have to set the hook yourself. It's a bit like fishing on the bottom. It's a bolt rig effect, and the fish can scream off with it when they're in the mood for feeding, that is. The hook link itself. Today I've got one of about 4 foot long, but when I'm fishing for, let's say, more pressured fish in less heavily stocked environments, I'd make it about 6 feet, just to get it that little bit further away from the bubble float that may become very, very obvious. It's a more pressured carp. I'm using 9 pound zig and floater line here, and it's very, very strong, and it works in most environments. Obviously it goes up to 12 and 15 pounds, and the safety of the fish must be paramount at all times. The 9 I will use here, the fish aren't very big at all. They're just lots and lots of fun. If there's weed or gravel bars you're fishing over the top, anything or lily pads, anything that fish can get down behind, then you need to try and secure it. And yeah, going up to 15 pounds sometimes in these weedy waters we're fishing of late tends to be the way forward. On there is a very, very long anti-tangle sleeve, and it's so easy to tangle these kind of setups. I use the longest ones we've got available, and they work very, very well. And again, so stopping your rigs tangling is the most important thing. Always, as that controller or that bubble float is going to hit the water, trap the line on the spool of your reel, and it will flick the hook bait forward and decreases the chances of it tangling almost completely. Now, I am not the greatest talker about rigs. And I would suggest that the rig we use for surface fishing would be the reason why. Can anybody tell me how much more of a simple hair rig could you get than that? And yet we are fishing for fish that we are inviting up to feed on the surface in an area of the lake. They are at their most on edge, if you like. All of their senses are on top alert for any dangers coming from above and from the sides, and it is the one area of the lake where a carp can see. Its eyes were never put on its body in the position they are, so it can see what it's eating off the bottom. But I'm so sure it can see things on the surface. Yet we use the most simple and basic of hair rigs to do so. It often makes me wonder why people go such lengths. I do know the reason why, but I'll not say it here. Yeah, it doesn't need to ever get any more complicated than that. And it just works. I use our small zig and floater hooks. They are tiny. They are they're so sharp. It's frightening. You have to put no pressure on it for it to glide into the skin under your finger and draw a bit of blood. The hair is as short as it can be. And I don't want to be able to push my hook bait, the top of my hook bait, round the bend of the hook, and that is how I fish all the time. I'd make no changes to it, other than the buoyancy of the hook bait, and it might seem, you know, not that relevant, but believe me, it is. As easy as these carp are to catch out of this lake off the top. It has been the need today to whittle down my hook bait with a pair of scissors, and I think I've had one bite myself today on a hook bait that hasn't been whittled down, and so many times the fish are coming up and nosing the thing forward and just shying away, doing it all the time. It wasn't until I could get them going really, really well on the mixes as free offerings that they eventually take the hook bait, but boy, did they take it. And as I say, I mean, for me, it's the most purest way of carp fishing. You know, you're not sat in a bivvy watching a movie. You know, the movie for me is a long movie. Lasts about 9 hours while I'm on the bank and I'm chasing carp around on the surface. And to me, a rod, a reel, a bucket and a landing net, along with your 𝘁𝗵𝗶𝗀 course, is all you need for a full day of fun. You've got to select the right water, of course you have. But yeah, I've had 6 fish today. It's been absolutely amazing. And hopefully there's many more to come. But, you know, although they aren't the biggest fish you've ever seen, they're 6 of the biggest 𝘁𝗶𝗀s that accompany them. What I'm going to do first of all is try and give you a demonstration of what I'm saying here. I think, and I hope, I've got the fish feeding fairly confident out there now. And yeah, straight away they're on it. So what I want to do, I don't want this to be landing in amongst them, obviously, to spook them off. So the first cast is made to land well beyond them. I didn't spook anything out there, and most of the activity is out here at catapult range, which is wonderful. I'm slowing it down. I'm almost in the area now. Here we go. It seems they want to eat my float more than they do the free offering. But yes! Well, it just have to keep persisting, and it's that ability to cast well beyond the fish that keeps them feeding hard. And the longer I kept that bait going in, the more they were feeding. So, and these fish, pound for pound, they're just some of the hardest fighting fish I've ever known. They do take your breath away, and yeah. If it was all about smiles, I'd be leading by miles and miles. That's for sure. It's a tiny little fish, but it doesn't matter. It proves the point so well. It knows the landing net's here, that's for sure. God, the angle of this wall. Good God. Amid all the smiling and how happy that carp has made me feel, there's also one massive subject to cover. Look at the sun blazing down on everything and think about what you're going to do when you get that carp out the water. The last thing you want to do is just lift it out and put it on an unprepared unhooking mat. It's going to be roasting hot out in the midday sun. So every time I've had a fish, or every time I do have a fish, my unhooking mat is stowed away either in the bushes, underneath my bed chair, anywhere to keep it cool. And the last thing I'm going to do is pick up the fish straight away and put it on that unhooking mat. I'm going to take it down with the easy mats. It's so easy. Just take out the inner, soak the inner in the water, get rid of that heat, put it back on the mat. Then it's ready to receive the fish. I don't think there isn't much more you can do to stop that fish feeling any unnecessary comfort, or indeed doing any damage on material that can get so unbelievably hot in the midday sun. Okay, the first thing to do, obviously, once the fish is on the unhooking mat, and the stop tries to beat me up even more than it did when I was playing it, is to get down your knees, get down over the fish so you can protect it. It's no good being stood up, bent over, kneel down behind the unhooking mat. To me, it's just second nature. Secondly, as soon as you can, remove the hook. Make sure all the fins are lying down nice and flat, so she's not breaking any of her fins or anything. And then secondly, check over her for any marks, anything that you would like to treat, anything that looks like it's open to the elements and might get infected. In this case, she's okay. However, I did hook her, and the antiseptic fish care gel is going to be at hand. And all I have to do is put a few blobs on there, leave it there for about 15 seconds, and it will cause a film over the wound itself, and will stay there for up to 7 days, stopping any bacteria getting into that wound and killing any that is already there. You couldn't ask for more. And as far as fish care goes, I think that's it. And lastly, don't keep your fish on the bank as long or any longer than you need to. I'm going to get this girl back in the lake, and yeah, she's still, as you can see, fighting fit, and I'd like to get her back in the lake in exactly that way. It's been such a fun day for me, and part of that fun has been sharing it with the cameraman Joe, and it's not very often you get to see Joe Wooltorton in front of the camera, the right side of the lens for once, holding a fish he's just had an hectic battle with, and we've been trying to get a mirror for the cameras, and this rather pretty little fella decided to join in the fun too. And yeah, it's been incredible. And Joe, you're doing just as good with a rod as you are with your camera. Well done, brother. And let's go and catch a few more, eh?
Yep, definitely.
The fish is back safely, and really, I ought to be going home talking about safety. I forgot to take my tablets this morning, and please don't tell my wife if you ever see her. She won't be too happy with me, but I can't resist one more bite. It's one of those things with carp fishing, you just cannot resist that extra truck and tweaking it back into position. Just check my clutch again. Yes. Unbelievable. Bless. Amazing, isn't it? And all thoughts of how poorly I feel because of not taking those tablets this morning have now gone flying out the window. Some of you may be amazed that I'm fishing a lake like this and not fishing for the monsters that people always think I do. Well, one, every now and again I enjoy this kind of fishing, and two, every lake near and far from me is now shut because of spawning. And this lake, they have spawned in here and they've recently opened it back up and allowed us to fish. And yeah, it's truly amazing. Just the joy of carp fishing. And where maybe I should have a little bit of a frown on my face at the moment, but for being so forgetful this morning, I can't help but have a big smile. Everything I did to get a bite come to fruition is when you can get them in the landing net, of course. Look at that, that is an unbelievable fish. Yes. That will be my last fish of the day. I can't tell you how happy I am about that. Remarkable. Hey! I'll be back to chasing monsters around very, very shortly, but I just don't think things can ever put such a big smile on my face. It's unlike normal carp fishing, isn't it? I've got all my gear back in my van in about 5 minutes flat, nothing to worry about. Get me wet unhooking mat and a wet landing net to put out in the garden when I get home. Signs of victory. A victory from a 7-hour session when the rest of the world is spawning. And thank goodness we're all being left alone. I was able to come to a lake and fish for them off the top. They might not be the biggest carp in the world, but they are places that let me maybe refine the things I'm thinking about in my fishing. And if not only that, it just fills your confidence sacks back up when sometimes you need them. I just didn't need that at the moment. What I needed was to do a little bit of fishing on the surface, catch a few fish. Now it's home for tea and tiffin.